Hello everyone! So I promised you to make a separate video on who the parasites really are, where did they come from, and how exactly Astro toilets are built, and I'm keeping my promise. So today I'll tell you everything about the weirdest mystery in the whole series at the moment, and everything will become clear to you. Were Astro toilets created before Skibidi toilets or not? Who is the true maker of the toilets? And was there a virus in the first place? How G-Man betrayed Astro toilets, and what do they want from him now? If you want to get the answer to all these questions, then get your tea and snacks ready and prepare to watch this video to the end, because it's going to be very interesting. Let's go! And also be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done it already, because I make a lot of videos to entertain you guys while we are waiting for the new Skibidi toilet episodes. Okay, so if you are subscribed now, let's continue. So we know that the best part of Skibidi toilet series is the never-ending arms race between different races and sides of our conflict. And sometimes Boom is getting so good in his action sequences that we may simply forget about the origin of the sides that are fighting with each other. So we didn't ask a lot of questions for quite a long time about why the parasites stopped appearing in the series eventually, or where did Astro toilets initially come from, and why they disappeared afterwards, as we weren't provided with lots of information on that part. But now everything changed completely when the first part of episode 77 came out, and oh boy, I have so much to discuss right now. So let's start with Skibidi Scientist first. And well, I hope that you still remember this guy, although he's no longer with us for almost 7 episodes. He was always in the center of the conflict between Skibidi toilets and the Alliance, and served as some sort of mastermind specialized in technologies and making new inventions that would help Skibidi Army to outpower their opponents. And the parasites were one of his earliest creations that were also extremely dangerous towards the whole Alliance, as no one was safe from their infection, even the Titans. And the threat of the parasites seemed to be so terrible that the Alliance's best scientists started working on the anti-parasite weapon really quick, and the creation of such weapon became the priority #1 for them for a big number of episodes. Because Titan Speakerman also got infected with the parasite, which broke the balance of powers between the two armies. To put it simply for you guys, the parasites were one of the scariest tools to operate against the Alliance, and before the anti-parasite weapon was created, they were so OP it was even difficult to imagine. But then 2 important events happened almost back to back. First of all, the anti-parasite cannon was created and fully developed, so it could have been used not only to free the regular agents of the Alliance from the control of Skibidi parasites, but also the Titans. And although the tank with the anti-parasite cannon was destroyed, and it was TV Woman instead who freed Titan Speakerman of his parasite in episode 57, the weapon still held a great threat towards the parasites from that moment. And that's why we started seeing less and less parasites in action of the series until they were completely gone until the latest episodes. But instead, we suddenly started seeing Astro toilets who firstly appeared in episode 53. And I didn't connect these 2 dots together before, but well, now I do. And for some time, Astro continued working in the collaboration with Skibidi toilets, or at least they were aiming for the same goal on the battlefield, and by that I mean they also pursued the destruction of the Alliance's agents, and most importantly, the destruction of the anti-parasite cannon. And I also used to think that Astro toilets were a branch of the Skibidi toilet creatures, and they were working in tandem with them against the Alliance. However, then episode 60 happened, which exposed a lot of really interesting details. They proved their discord with Skibidi toilets, and more specifically with G-Man, whom they wanted to destroy, and Skibidi Scientist. But when the Skibidi Scientist showed up in the flesh, they seemed really scared of him and ran away while he was humiliating them in the process. And well, why all of this happened in the first place? Now let me tell you everything as I gathered enough information to answer this question. Let's get back to the parasites for a moment. We know that they are crab-like creatures inhabiting the bodies of toilets, and they were evolving with the course of the series, by the way. And if we would compare the body of the parasite from the earliest episodes to the parasite that was exposed in episode 77, then we'll see a very clear difference. We also know that the parasites were initially created by the Skibidi scientist, possibly as a biological weapon or a tool to enhance the capabilities of the Skibidi toilets. And there is also a possibility that he may not have created them, but rather adapted them. But I'll tell you about it a little bit later, so keep watching this video to the end not to miss the craziest part. Okay, so given their ability to rapidly evolve, I think that they could have gained the most important function with time, and it's to function as an independent species. And I think that this evolution could likely lead to their eventual rebellion and estrangement from the Skibidi toilets and Skibidi scientist in particular. But why would they do such a thing? Well, it is possible that Skibidi scientist who initially needed these parasites for his war efforts might have eventually found them unnecessary or uncontrollable. We also should consider the fact that as the anti-parasite cannon was created by the Alliance's scientists, the parasites became simply impractical as the controlled agents could have been cured with one simple shot of this cannon. And I also find it most likely that the power of this cannon is strong enough even till this day. And that's why we could see one of the cameramen holding such a cannon in the most recent episodes. So given the fact that the Alliance's invention of anti-parasite guns rendered the parasites less effective in battles, it would explain why the parasites, who were once a significant part of the Skibidi army, gradually disappeared from the front lines completely. And I also think that the scientists' possible rejection or banishment of the parasites might have triggered their rebellion eventually. But what does it have with Astro Toilet's animosity towards G-Man, though? Well, he was the commander of the Skibidi toilets, and worked really close with Skibidi scientist, who was the mastermind of them all. Considering that G-Man probably didn't say a single word to support the parasites after they got banished by Skibidi scientist, they started seeing him as the vile traitor. And episode 60 highlights this tension pretty well, as it was showing the Astro Toilet's fear and avoidance of the scientist who humiliates them, but also their hatred towards G-Toilet. And this interaction suggests that the parasites not only rebelled, but also harbored resentment toward both their creator and commander. But given the fact that Skibidi scientist must have been their maker after all, they still might have fear towards him. That's why the Astro Toilets escape from the fight with G-Man when Skibidi scientist shows up, although they Maker's reaction towards them most likely fueled their sense of betrayal and desire for revenge even more. You can ask me though, but Iso, if the Astro Toilets from episode 60 were parasites, then why they were in the Skibidi toilet like bodies and had such awesome technologies by that moment? Well, it is possible that before giving up on parasites completely, Skibidi scientist could have tried making some special suits for them that we could see in episode 53. But it probably required more tricky materials and more time to create such suits. So he stopped producing them. But after all, the parasites were created and developed inside of the laboratory of Skibidi scientist, so they must have known a lot about his latest inventions anyway. So it is possible that with time, a major part of the abandoned parasites could have developed tremendously in terms of the level of their intelligence and maybe even physique. Although some parasites must have remained underdeveloped and stayed on the Skibidi base anyways. For example, the parasites we could see in episode 69. And do you also remember the parasite from episode 73, which G-Man used in order to gain control over Titan Speakerman again when all of them were battling? I suppose that it could be one of the very few parasites that remained loyal to Skibidi toilets and didn't join the new Astro faction. And the parasites who later became Astro toilets may have adapted or stolen the technology from Skibidi scientists' laboratory. Moreover, they could also research the technology that was used to create G-Man's clones. And that's how they learnt to create the Astro toilet bodies they are operating with right now. Given their access to the scientist's laboratory, the parasites could have learned from his designs and possibly even enhanced themselves using this knowledge. And that's how they could eventually develop into a separate, self-sufficient race which is capable of mounting organized attacks. So after the Astro parasites might have stolen classified information and fled to establish their own base, it made a significant shift in power dynamics within the whole Skibidi universe. Their betrayal and their eventual emergence as an independent force may suggest that the Astro parasites are not merely a discarded tool, but a potential threat with an access to advanced technology. So after those parasites who adapted the best technologies and inventions from Skibidi scientists escaped from the Skibidi base, they must have relocated somewhere else and established their own base. And considering that we still don't know much about their base and the leader, I can't make much of that, but I believe that this base must have been located somewhere in the air or even in the space. And it is also possible that the development of parasites as separate species must have led them to having their own hierarchy and also dividing into males and females. That would explain the appearance of Astro Duchess and the fact that the number of Astro toilets increased dramatically within such a short period of time. So probably they learnt how to repopulate and organize themselves. But this theory works if we would consider that Astro toilets are indeed the parasites that were initially created by Skibidi scientists, but then developed into their own species. Which would mean that Astro toilets were created at the same time as Skibidi toilets, and they're basically the same thing. But what if I'll tell you that there is another theory, according to which the parasites were not from the Earth in the first place, but they are alien creatures that got here from further space? And in that case, it would mean something even crazier. What if it was human government that initially started examining their alien species that would lead to the outbreak of the mysterious virus turning people into toilets? And what if it was parasites, on which base the Skibidi toilets were created? That would explain the horrible appearance of the creature we saw in episode 77, which looked like a total alien, although it was also definitely a parasite. But to tell you honestly, guys, this second theory is much more undercooked because we still don't have lots of details regarding the parasites and Astro toilets altogether. But there is one thing we know for certain, though. The Alliance still has the anti-parasite cannons, and now when we know that the parasites are operating the Astro toilets, the war can shift in the totally different direction. So maybe in the future episodes, we'll see how the Alliance would upgrade their weapons even further so that it would be possible to destroy Astro much quicker. And with G-Man's help, the Alliance would totally get a chance to survive over Astro faction and finally put them all down. And that was all for today. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, hit the like button below and also be sure to write a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube and Discord channels not to miss my new interesting videos. And that was me, ISOTOILET. See ya!